Hey guys, welcome back to the Game Room. This is Matt from RetroReviews, and we're going to talk about underappreciated and unknown games for the NES. To steal a phrase from Metal Jesus, these are hidden gems. Let's go! Alright, I'm sort of cheating on the first one. Everyone knows Kirby, and you've probably played a modern Kirby game, but have you played the original? For the uninitiated, Kirby can eat enemies, stealing their special abilities. Trying all their different special moves is a ton of fun, and when you find a secret area that only opens with the single ability you happen to have, it's super satisfying. I am still impressed at the graphics, the tight gameplay, the number of levels, and all the hidden goodies. The incredible attention to detail, like the little stars that pop out of Kirby when he slams into a wall or a floor, the little squish animations he does from time to time, the double tap to run mechanic, the overworld, the minigames, satisfying boss battles, and a warp system to easily navigate between worlds. The only real negative for Kirby on his quest to save Dreamland is the slowdown. Sometimes the gameplay is fast and crisp, but other times it almost slows to a crawl. I've experienced this on original hardware, emulated, and on the Switch. It does detract from the experience, and it can get frustrating. The Game Boy version is very similar, yet somehow has less slowdown if you're alright playing in black and white. However, the best Kirby experience might just be Return to Dreamland on the Wii. My son has played this Wii version start to finish twice now and keeps coming back to it. Up to 4-player co-op with quick drop-in and drop-out makes it a great, fun party game too. I highly recommend them all. Now this was a game I didn't play until recently when it hit the Nintendo Switch. I promptly jumped on eBay and got a City Connection cartridge shipped to my door for under $4. With $2.80 worth of shipping, that's basically a $1 game. While the gameplay is simplistic, the game is surprisingly difficult and yet surprisingly addictive. You're a car driving around and painting roads while avoiding police and hazards. I can't help but play this over and over and over. The true definition of a just one more time game. My biggest pro tip is that you can't jump up a floor if you've just changed direction. You need to wait for the car to pop a wheelie and get the front end back down on the ground before attempting your jump. It's even more fun with the 3D Sen emulator from the Steam store. Only a small number of NES games are available right now, but it's a ton of fun playing these originals in 3D. Not much else to say, especially at $1, you have to try this one. Cobra Triangle was developed in the late 1980s by Rare. Yes, the same Rare who made RC Pro-Am for the NES, Donkey Kong Country for the Super Nintendo, and legendary N64 games like GoldenEye, Banjo-Kazooie, and Perfect Dark. This has some amazing combat racing with boats that is super fun and super satisfying. The isometric view is very reminiscent of their RC Pro-Am game, but honestly, RC Pro-Am is still better than this one. Even though there is a lot of variety with different levels and challenges interspersed between the race levels. You have challenges like delivering mines while enemies try to steal them, shooting at targets, and jumping off ramps to collect items. Most of them are fun, but the waterfall and the protect the humans levels are annoying at best. Those two can get frustrating to throw the controller into the TV level. If only this was a racing game first, and those bonus levels were just that, bonuses. Even if you failed, you could move on to the next race. There is still enough fun in Cobra Triangle for me to recommend it. This is a super cheap cartridge to pick up, and the racing levels are satisfying enough to keep me coming back. The one game I can't seem to find my physical cartridge of, Kickle Cubicle. It is a great puzzle game, and I never even heard of this until John Riggs mentioned it. This is one of those games where you can waste an hour or two without noticing how much time has melted away. The story is somehow the same story we've heard 1,000 times, yet is still brand new and over-the-top ridiculous, even for an NES game. The Wicked Wizard King, who appears to be made of vegetables, has covered the fantasy kingdom in ice, set his army loose, and put all your friends into dream bags? Your job is to collect the bags in each level to progress through 4 worlds before unlocking the 5th and final world where the difficulty gets turned up to 11. As Kickle, you basically just need to freeze enemies into blocks and use them to build bridges. This feels very similar to the mechanic in The Adventures of Lolo, where you turn enemies into eggs and use them to cross streams, except you thankfully have unlimited freeze breath in Kickle Cubicle. Make sure you carve out a big chunk of time before sitting down with this one. It's gonna go by fast. There isn't too much more to say about this game. It's super fun, super addictive, and it is definitely worth giving a shot. Based on Journey to the West, Whomp Em is a Native American-themed Mega Man-style game with excellent music. The music is just as varied as the levels, which you get to play in any order you want after you finish the first one. Whether you are in a magical forest, ice cave, or volcano, the different graphics, music, and enemies draw you into that world. While you can skip by most enemies, you will want to take them out since they often drop power-ups to raise your defense, strength, or increase the length of your spear. Then you can collect boss weapons, but unlike Mega Man, you don't have to worry about running out of ammo. This game is not easy, but it's not quite as hard as Mega Man, so this might be a nice stepping stone for someone who wants to tackle the Mega Man series in the future. The platforming and some blind jumps can get frustrating. Occasionally getting hit by enemies can feel cheap, and it's annoying, even if it's fair, but don't even get me started on that last level. Although challenging, making it through this game is incredibly satisfying, even if you have to fight tooth and nail. Sponge the Kid on YouTube even said he thinks this is better than any classic Mega Man title. It's not cheap, but it's not too expensive. The game is worth it if you can get it for a deal, like I got my well-loved copy. Another game that unfortunately isn't cheap, but is totally worth every cent is Shatterhand. I love this game. In the not-too-distant future, you are tasked with saving the world from an evil army and their commander, General Grover. Wait, Grover? Shatterhand feels a bit like the Sunsoft NES Batman game, except here you punch everything with your metal robot fist until it dies or explodes. Climbing walls and fences gives a great vertical element that is missing or poorly implemented in other games of the time. It's a great action platformer and similar to Power Blade and Kabuki Quantum Fighter, which are honorable mentions that I almost put on this list. However, compared to the others, I think Shatterhand is a way more fun and better overall experience. The controls are just a little stiff, but they're way more fluid than many other NES games. I also think the difficulty is slightly easier than something like Whomp Em. Your common fodder enemies only take a single hit to dispatch, which helps with the slightly faster than average pacing. Another thing that helps this quick pace is the music. Man, this music is electric. Driving rock music pushes you forward, propelling you through each level. I had an extremely difficult time choosing just one song from the soundtrack for this clip. I encourage anyone who enjoys chiptunes to search for this soundtrack on YouTube. Collecting enough Greek power-up symbols gets you a robot friend that can be helpful. Changing the order of the symbols changes the robot who comes to help you. You can even punch the symbols to rotate through your choices to select the companion you want. Once you start playing the game, you can anticipate needing a different robot for certain challenges, adding an additional level of strategy. Other times, I find myself trying to attack with the robot when it would be easier to just ignore it and attack normally. Pads are scattered around, but you can only use them if you have enough money. Most of these pads will heal Herman, Shatterhand, if you have collected enough money to pay for it, but sometimes you can get a power-up instead. You're going to need all that health and power for the bosses and some of your enemies who take lots of hits before going down. After the first level, you go to a stage select screen that feels very much like the stage select from Gunstar Heroes, probably my all-time favorite Sega Genesis game of all time. You gotta give Shatterhand a try. What a strange and amazing game. I've never had the patience to actually beat Clash at Demonhead, but I've gone pretty far. The story, enemies, and situations you find yourself in are incredibly strange. However, this leads to an enormous variety in locations, level designs, and varied enemies. You play as Sergeant Billy Big Bang Blitz of Saber, Special Assault Brigade for real emergencies. A skeleton-looking guy named Tom, I know, what an incredible bad guy name. Tom has kidnapped Professor Plum, the creator of the Doomsday Bomb. There is mind control, a bunch of medallions, the Sword of Apollo, aliens, fourth wall breaking, and of course, demons. At first, Demonhead looks and feels like a fairly standard action platformer until you finish the first level. Like the NES Dick Tracy or Castlevania II Simon's Quest, you will want a pencil and paper handy to take notes. Then, you're given a map screen with a huge number of possible routes. It's almost an open world game. The biggest problem you have is you have no idea where to go. You get a few hints early on about which routes to take, but you can't actually see the route numbers until you've been there. Clues are fairly rare, and there is a lot of backtracking. While I've enjoyed my time with this game, Clash of Demonhead is probably my personal least favorite game to play on this list. Don't get me wrong, there is a ton of gratifying game here, with crazy entertaining story and an unbelievable level of replayability. If you're prepared for the journey, Clash of Demonhead is worth your effort. A game I love and one of my wife's favorite puzzle games, something I remember renting from Blockbuster over and over. Adventures of Lolo is your standard girlfriend is kidnapped by a monster thing and you have to take a massive journey and defeat scores of enemies to get her backstory. Collect all the hearts to unlock the chest, collect the pearl from the chest, go to the next level, rinse and repeat. But the characters are cute, even most of the enemies. Some enemies will block your way or are potential puzzle solvers, like the caterpillars. Roly-polies will chase you down from the beginning, but they can't cross grass or water. Medusa heads and the pink knife-spitting thing will kill you as soon as you enter their view. Skulls run you down, but only after you unlock the treasure chest. They are all small bananas, though, compared to the big walking blocks. I hate those things so much. The Adventures of Lolo series is my favorite NES puzzle game, even over Tetris and Kickle Cubicle. However, instead of the fast-paced puzzling like those other games, Lolo asks you to think through your choices before executing them. When I was about 6, my father taught me how to play chess, and I really feel my brain working the same way on this game as it does when I play chess, or a challenging board game like Pandemic. You really need to be thinking a few moves ahead, anticipating the snowball effect of every move you make, caterpillar you turn into an egg, or skull you wake up. You really only get one song, and at first you love it, you'll be humming it long after you turn off the Nintendo. Unfortunately, that theme starts to get on your nerves, and as you hit roadblocks that require you to play the same level over and over, I get annoyed, and sometimes you push a block a little bit too far, ruin the puzzle, have to start over. If only they had a pull mechanic too. But the original Adventures of Lolo is not an expensive game, although the 2 sequels are quite a bit more valuable. The sequels, though, they're really just more of the same without a lot of variation, so I recommend picking up the original most of all. In my personal experience, there is nothing on the NES that plays like Rescue, the embassy mission. In a way, it reminds me of the recent XCOM games. In this game, you control an elite squad of soldiers trying to rescue the VIP from terrorists. You start out by stealthily moving your soldiers into position past enemy spotlights and diving into open doorways for cover. Once in position, you can choose one of the characters to be your sniper, eliminating terrorists you see as shadows in the windows across the street. Afterwards, you control a soldier rappelling into a window from the roof. And finally, you play in a first-person shooter view to gun down all the bad guys. The controls are a little clunky, especially in the rappelling section where I admit I had to use Google and YouTube to figure out what to do. The first section feels a little bit like Blackthorn to me when you're walking, like you're taking giant robot steps through the mud. I also appreciate the idea of a moving reticle with the sniper scope, but it makes me a bit seasick and it's kind of annoying. But if it's a challenge you're after, each subsequent difficulty raises your challenge quite a bit. My local retro store has this on the shelf right now for under $8. Go get it, it is worth every cent. Okay, if you collect video games even a little bit, you're going to recognize the title of this game. You probably also don't own this, since a loose copy fetches over $1,000. Regardless, Little Samson might just be the best NES game ever made. And a quick aside, this is a reproduction cartridge. I would never blow $1,000 on a game, no matter how good it is. The term Mega Man clone gets thrown around a lot, but this game is so much more than that. It is one of the most visually impressive NES games I've played, the music is incredible, the combat and platforming is outstanding, and it's not too difficult most of the time, and then if you kick it up a difficulty level, you get a great challenge at a true NES hard difficulty. The controls are tight and responsive, button pushes happen instantaneously, and much like Cuphead, if you die, it's your own fault. Not only that, you get multiple characters to choose from. After an intro level of each, you can change characters on the fly at any time. Samson can jump higher than the others, is fast, can climb walls, and throws bells at enemies. Kikira the dragon spits fire. Her flying ability can also make challenging platforming sections way easier. Gam the Golem is slow and bulky, but has high defense and offense, as well as immunity from spikes. KO the Mouse is fragile, but can run across the ceiling and squeeze into small areas no one else can fit into. There are definitely times you'll need one specific character to progress, and opportunities to travel different paths depending on who you choose at that time. This game is really the full experience. I'm still blown away that this game fit onto a cartridge and plays almost flawlessly on the NES hardware. Wall kicking and platforming is a lot of fun, combat is satisfying, and the boss battles will have you sweating, especially on the harder difficulty. I don't know if the rarity of this game makes me like it more than I should, but I really love this game. There are times a game is expensive because it's rare, and times a game is expensive because it's good. Little Samson is the perfect storm of a game that is both an amazing experience and incredibly rare. You have to play this game any way you can. I really appreciate you guys watching the video and sticking with me. Please hit a like down below, subscribe, hit the notification bell. It really helps us out as a channel. We're bringing this thing back. Let me know in the description what are your favorite hidden gems or what videos would you like to see in the future. You guys have a great day. See you next time.